rotten, stinky, filthy, hairy hands off my beer, 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 Mickey, buy me a beer. Beer, 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 Mickey, buy me a beer. Beer is lovely in the morning.
Hey craft beer fans, it's Rob here at BeerTengoku coming up with another 3 Beer Thursday for you. In fact, this one is actually going to be a 2-part 3 Beer Thursday because I'm looking at Yggdrasil Brewing. It's a small brew pub in Hiratsuka, and we went there a few months ago for a couple of beers and found out that obviously due to the coronavirus, they started bottling and they released 6 beers. The actual beers rotate around, so when we bought these 6 beers, the beers that are probably on sale now are going to be slightly different, but anyway, you can still get them. It just means you probably have to go down to the brew pub when it opens. A little bit of information about Yggdrasil Brewing. If you hadn't guessed, Yggdrasil Brewing is named after the Norse god Yggdrasil. I'm probably saying it wrong. And a lot of their beers are themed after the Norse gods. Davido Guadamato, who's probably picture here now, he's one of the owners of the place. Really nice guy. Really loves his French hops. But without much further ado, I'm just going to look at these 3 beers today. We've got the Beer Patrol. Okay, this is an India Pale Lager. We've got, I'm probably saying this wrong, the Idun, which is actually a cider. Kind of interested by that. And then finally this one here, I can't see it very well, the Hop Ensemble. Okay. The second part, which will come out next week, we'll look at the 3 other beers that we got. But let's get drinking with the Beer Patrol.
Hairy hands off my beer, 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 Mickey, buy me a beer. Beer, beer,
Okay, so first up we have this. It's the Yggdrasil Beer Patrol. Can't imagine what macro label this was supposed to be. Perhaps you could leave a comment below so we know. But what we do know about it is, as it says on the label here, it's an India Pale Lager, and it comes in at 6.66% metal, very metal there. And it's also a collaboration beer with End All Beer. That's all I know about it, really. Basically because there's not very much information. When we went down to Yggdrasil, it was just after this had been released, which I think was January 29th. But as you can see when we pour out, nice golden, light golden colour. Not much life to it actually, kind of a bit of a surprise. So give a bit of a jiggle there. You know, it's kind of cleanish, no real massive haze to it. I'd say, yeah, it's a kind of a slightly hazy lager. It's definitely kind of got a sweetish nose to it. Kind of a bit of a jammy, kind of a jammy aroma to it. I want to say strawberries. I want to say orange, but it's kind of like a marmalade-y, jammy aroma to it. There's a little bit of kind of slight hint of sulfur going on there, and a little slight butteriness. It's not off-putting. I mean, if you get your nose in there and you really smell it, then you probably pick it up. It is a little bit chilled, mainly because I thought, well, it's kind of an India Pale Lager, probably could do with that. It's just, it's just that jamminess that comes to it. I don't know what hops went in there, but kind of, you get that, but so you get that lager bite to it, and then suddenly, a little bit of bitterness comes in from the hops. And then kind of a lingering kind of malt sweetness. I guess the best way to kind of describe it would be like I hate to use the expression of macro lager, but it's like when someone's taken a macro lager and passed it through some hops to give it that jamminess to it. Definitely, as it's warmed up a bit, the booziness is coming through. It's not, like I said, 6.66. It's kind of quite high there for a lager. But again, it's kind of a sulfuriness comes through at the end. A little bit gassy as well. Definitely drinkable. You wouldn't be drinking pints of this stuff, I reckon, especially the speed that some people drink lagers. But yeah, I quite like it. I do.
So keep your dirty, rotten, stinky, filthy, hairy hands off my beer, 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 beer.
Next up, we've got the Yggdrasil Idun. Hopefully you can see that label nice and clearly. And for those that don't have any knowledge about Norse mythology, Idun is the goddess of youth. And one of the things that she does is to ensure that people remain young, she gives them apples. Hence why this is kind of like a apple beer, I want to say. Like some of the other beers from Yggdrasil, there's not much information about there. So all I know is it contains apples. I don't know if it's a apple flavoured beer or a beer flavoured cider. But the first thing you notice from it is how cloudy it is. And if you're a Brit, then you probably have seen Scrumpy growing up. But that's just how cloudy it is. I mean, it's not luminescent, but it's a cloudy yellow and reeks of apples and kind of like I guess a Scrumpy, I guess. It's very, I'd say, a little bit sweet on the nose. I want to say there's a citrusy aroma going on. Perhaps that it is a hopped apple beer, I guess. Ooh, that's interesting. It's definitely more on the cider end, I guess. It's quite dry, a little bit of tartness going on there. I don't know what apples were used in this, but Japanese apples don't tend to be very good for making cider. They lack the tannins, but that has some bite in there. Maybe perhaps a bit of acid has been added in there somewhere, but it's definitely a cider. So I'm sorry I've let you down. I should rename this site Cider Tengoku, but just for this video.
You're dirty, rotten, stinky, filthy, hairy hands off my beer, 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 buy me a beer.
So the final beer in this part one of Yggdrasil 3 Beer Thursday, I've got this Hop Ensemble. It's a 6.66 metal red IPA. Red IPAs, pretty much not really seen that many in Japan. An interesting thing about the artwork is a guy called Jay, who is, you can find him on Twitter, Instagram, under Mystery Cuts Radio, designed the label. And he actually also designed some labels for TDM 1874. They're a local brewery in Yokohama. It's got some very cool artwork for them. So if you are interested in seeing some more, check him out on Mystery Cuts Radio. Okay. This beer is kind of a mix in terms of hops. It's got some French Triskel hops and it uses some imported, I want to say Equinox hops from the US. Okay. It's kind of, yeah, I mean the label's pretty funky, and if I pour it out, it's not as red as I thought it was going to be. It's more brownish, but as you can see, it's got a nice frothy head on top just there, more of a darkish ruby brown colour. But it smells wonderful. It smells like melon, it smells like oranges, a slight bit of caramel going on. It is bitter. Oh, I'll give you that. And it's got a toasted caramel flavour to it. Slight nuttiness to it. And a slight metallic-y taste to it. And that could be because of the cap. It could be because the beer, I don't know. But it's got a lingering sweetness to it. It's not cloying, but it does have a lingeringness to it. A slight smokiness, woodiness in there as well. Very pleasant. Definitely fruity. Like I said, there's some like melon, some orange going in there. Dash of lime. But yeah, it's kind of a woody smokiness that lingers on in the beer. Boozy. It's, even though it's 6.6%, I can feel it hitting me. Ooh. But, ooh, yeah, definitely. Very interesting. I don't think I've ever had a red IPA. I've had rye IPAs, black IPAs, American IPAs, English IPAs. Got pretty much every single IPA, but a red IPA is interesting. Definitely perhaps some German smoked malt going there. I'm not too sure actually, but yeah, it's interesting. Definitely interesting. So, I think that it's perhaps worthy of a roundup. I think next time I do the next 3 beers, I'll try and put more in a line and my preference, but I think if I were to kind of sum this up, I mean, obviously this situation right now for Yggdrasil has been a very rushed situation for them. They haven't in the past bottled or canned anything, and it was great of Kyoto Brewing and Yorko Beer to kind of step up and help them out to get bottles done, to kind of keep them running, and it kind of shows you like the camaraderie and the solidarity between the craft beer places in Japan. But that being said, obviously I've got to kind of put these into kind of rank, and it kind of feels cheap for me to say this, but the kind of the cider I had, the Idun, it wasn't bad, but it's a cider, and I drink beer. I like cider, and I did like that, and it's not a bad cider by any means, but it just didn't kind of develop much more past that kind of tannic apple flavour to it. Number one, it kind of obviously quite hard for me to decide. I do like my IPAs, but I think for number 2, I'm gonna turn around and say the Beer Patrol. Again, it's not a bad beer. Just I've had a lot of Indian Pale Lagers, and it's good, but it's not an exceptional lager, and it's not an exceptional IPA. It's just good. It's drinkable. Would I drink it again? Yeah, I would. But I'm of the idea that if you're going to make a hoppy beer, you make a hoppy, you make a pale ale or an IPA or an extra pale ale. If you're going to make a lager, you make a lager. As soon as you start to cross over, you're kind of getting into a territory where you have to make sure that it's a very good lager and a very good hoppy beer. If you flag on one of them, overall, the sum of the whole parts is not as great. Which leaves the Hop Ensemble. This one here, the last one I had, as my preferred one out of these 3. It was a red IPA. I don't knowingly think I've had a red IPA. I'm sure somebody's going to go through BeerTengoku and try and prove me wrong. But it was interesting. Like I said, the nuttiness, the multitude of flavours from the hops. It was something different to drink, and I enjoyed it. So, yeah, these are my preferred order from this batch. Join me next time, where I have the last 3 beers from Yggdrasil, and somehow I'll try and put all 6 in some kind of semblance of order. Thanks again for joining me. If you do wish to support us on Patreon, the link is below. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can slowly watch our descendants into alcoholism.
Stinky, filthy,
See you next
hairy
time.
hands off my beer, 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 beer.